I'm in a weird place, man.
Right?
Um, there's like I don't know. It's weird because like I can't believe how much like anger has been focused towards like Asian Americans during this whole like COVID thing too. Like I know this is just kind of like shifting gears entirely, but
It's
this
all good.
like I watched a thing with um I think it was John Oliver again, and it was just about Asian Americans and how that is such like a broad term that like it's such a wide net to cast because it's
Right.
like getting like Pacific Islanders and like The Rock and like Kamala Harris fall under the same category. Like,
Right.
and it's just like it's I don't know, it's weird, but like there's some like I don't think people realize what was going on in China when all of this started. Like I get that there are like really detrimental conspiracy theories going on out there, but like there was that huge uprising in Hong Kong right before COVID broke out. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? There were riots in the streets for days. Like they had like thousands of people flooding the streets to protest like how they were being like there
They
was
were throwing cinder blocks at the cops, and I mean, they were getting real with that shit.
yeah. And like my first thought when I started hearing about COVID was, oh shit, they done did something out there to try and like control the people, because it was like all of this massive uprising, and then all of a sudden there was this virus that everybody had to be locked down for. I was like, man, I get where the conspiracy theories started coming from with that, because that's kind of scary, and I certainly still wouldn't rule it out. But like I don't know if it was like, you know like I don't know if any of the theories that are out there would be even close to what actually happened, but I mean, it is
Yeah.
kind of weird. I it's weird because I mean, one thing that is most certainly true is that the world is in a very tense spot right now, and I think everything with Donald Trump made it worse because like, you know, I mean, China has concentration camps.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening in Russia, but I have seen videos, like overhead shots of like places where they have whales with stuff strapped to them. I don't know what it is, but I
Shit
don't.
is weird in Russia, and it's always been.
It always has been, and I don't know what they're doing out there, but there's always something shady happening.
Right?
And like, I mean, in South America, there is a ton of unrest right now, and it's mainly in these places where they're trying to just have this authoritarian grip on the citizens. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, even the United States wasn't immune to that. We got like, no matter like how sick people were getting, how many people were dying, we were still protesting in the streets over the summer,
Yeah.
and and it was still like going on and on and on. It's just there's something big that is kind of boiling up right now. And like in Peru with that the new like socialist guy that is like, I think is he getting voted in? Like do you are
Um,
you up on
so
that?
I know I was paying attention to that. I don't know if the elections happened yet. And I'm just worried that if he wins, we're going to send our CIA back down there and start that shit all over again, going, they need some freedom.
Yeah. And I mean, we've helped destabilize a lot of countries, and
We've helped destabilize, I think, literally all of South America at some point or other from the 1950s through the 1980s.
yeah. Yeah, there's I mean, there's a lot going on that I don't know. The world is in a scary place right now.
Yeah.
And with all of these authoritarians that are trying to rise up around the world, because I mean, I also heard that there was like a unit of police in Germany that was espousing very scary things recently, like an entire police unit that was very pro-Nazi. And when you get that in Germany, that's scary because they have a lot of
Yeah.
laws against even, fucking around with that. So if
Right.
you're willing to have a badge and a gun and be open enough to get caught about that, then there's probably something else that's happening. Because I know that they had a very strong right wing movement in Germany fairly recently as well. I think the lady that had been running against Angela Merkel, is that what's
Angela Merkel.
Merkel? Yeah. Um, yeah, I think the person that was running against her last was pretty fascist and had a very questionable past. So, like, the superpowers starting to move towards fascism is really not cool.
Well, and then Israel just ousted Netanyahu for someone who's considered a right wing populist. I'm like, okay, Netanyahu was already scary. So you've got someone who's dramatically to the right of him.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting one to watch.
I definitely need to keep an eye on it, that's for sure. Not like there's fuck all that we can do. I mean,
not much. I mean, for one thing, America's not going to do anything about it. I mean, considering that a lot of the Democrats went hard on the paint to slag Ilhan Omar when she dared to suggest that Israel be brought before international courts for war crimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, that's a problem that she suggested that idea?
Yeah.
The problem is the rest of y'all aren't suggesting that idea.
Yeah. Well, and it blows my mind that we can, I think I've said this before, that like the idea of being against the state of Israel and their actions, the government of Israel's actions,
right,
is somehow anti-Semitic.
Even though we're really just against the slow motion genocide they're trying to carry out.
Yeah. I mean, that would be like us saying we're against like the Trump policy for immigration and putting kids in cages, and them saying you're not Christian.
Right. Well,
you're an
that
anti-Christian.
Pretty much did happen.
I know. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like the argument makes as much sense. And yet we somehow normalize that, like, speaking up against Israel is something that can get your ass fired, because like some places will just fire you for speaking up against Israel.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, like, why?
Well, and it's weird because it's like this mainstream bipartisan thing to attack you if you speak up against the government of Israel. It's not even one side or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And because it comes from the Democrats were the ones that were admonishing Ilhan Omar. They wrote a letter to her telling her to shut up. Like, I mean, like, it's just, the progressives have it rough because they are literally the only ones in the government trying to do change, like trying to make change for the better of the citizens. And they get the most heat over anything that's done from both sides. Like, you don't even have to worry about Joe Manchin stepping in because Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are going to be right on that. But for some reason, they can't put any pressure on, Joe Manchin, because I mean, he's doing what they want. He's obstructing and not ruffling feathers, and that's what they want you to do. It's ridiculous.
I mean, Joe Manchin's, the corporate Democrats' ultimate dog boy there.
He is. And I heard something about Biden being afraid of Joe Manchin, which wouldn't really surprise me because he's probably got more powerful donors than Biden because Biden's
Probably.
middle of the road. And
Right.
it's very clear that Manchin is a staunch Republican. So
Right.
I think that it's, Biden's losing his respect from his donors because people are calling him a socialist now. So he's going
Like,
to have to crack down harder.
and I'm like, how is Biden a socialist?
It's because he wears those
That's
cool glasses, guy. Come on, guy.
right.
And he'll sniff your hair. He will gladly sniff your hair. And it won't be weird when he rubs your shoulders and sniffs your hair.
Right.
Nobody
And
said it was
stands
weird.
way too close to you.
And stands way too close to you. Does one of those, like, I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to pull in so we can be like cheek to cheek while I'm shaking your hand.
Like, this is so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm not surprised that there's been sexual assault allegations against Joe Biden. I'm surprised that there's been so few.
Yeah, that so few have surfaced
Yeah.
because there's still the decorum. There's
Yeah.
still the decorum on that side. Whereas Trump lost the fear that people had because everybody wanted to, like, you can only be so much of a loudmouth, just like braggart before
Yeah.
everybody starts hating you. And
Right.
the only thing that Trump has is his power. But here's the thing: Joe Biden can't get the Democrats to stand behind him.
No.
Trump lost his election, lost seats in the Senate, and gave power to the Democrats entirely, and was instigating an insurrection against the United States. Every fucking Republican senator and congressman is going down to Mar-a-Lago to like try and figure out how they can lick his boots and kick him.
Right. They're
He
still
lost.
lining up behind him.
Yeah. And he lost horribly. Like he just is a horrible person and lost. And he's horrible and nobody likes him. And yet DeSantis wants to be him and like
Right.
wishes that he could cuddle under one of Trump's skim flaps. And like
And
they,
Ted Cruz is wishing he had the balls to outright beat Trump.
yeah, but he's too busy eating boogers off of his lip to God, every time I think of Ted Cruz now, all I think of is that booger falling on his lip and him just like, "Oh, nobody saw it. I'm still good. Nobody saw it." Yeah.
And his strange beard that looks like he bought like, I don't know, crafting hair and fucking glued it onto his face and didn't even do a good job of that.
Yeah. Cause yeah. And like, I mean, I don't know. I wish Beto would have beat him.
Right.
I wish Beto would have won. I not that Beto was like a great guy. I definitely saw some potential in him when he first like started coming out because I was like, oh, he seems like he's at least kind of like another Obama where you just it doesn't matter what he's saying. He's charismatic enough to where, you like to hear him talk.
Yeah.
So what he's saying isn't unpleasant and it's much better than the president. So at that time and at this time, because Joe Biden is just kind of lost when he talks. But
Right. I mean, I've got to say, as far as progress in this country, so now we've got two presidents in a row that clearly suffer mental disabilities. I mean, Trump was about, I don't know, one IQ point above being, I don't know if retarded is the politically correct term for it anymore. I guess autistic. I don't fucking know what the term is.
well,
And Biden
mentally
clearly has
disabled.
mentally disabled, and
There's a
Biden
whole spectrum that.
clearly has dementia.
Yeah, I mean, so does oh, what's her name? Dianne Feinstein, but
Right?
they've been putting her in like, I don't remember who it was. I saw one of the former presidents. It was one of the black and white presidents, so it was before color presidents. Not, you know what I mean.
Before color TV.
Before color TV presidents, it was a black and white president.
Yeah.
It was old tube television president, and he was saying that you know men are going to have to be careful because there's going to be a president who has a female vice president and he's going to die within his term, and then the female vice president is going to take over, and then nobody's going to vote. Like, it's going to be a very hard time voting for a man again because they're going to see what happens when a woman gets in, which I agree with to an extent, but I don't think that Kamala Harris is going to be that female. I think that
Well,
if it had been Elizabeth Warren, that would have been a different story.
well, Kamala isn't, because I mean, I don't know why people still have this impression that she's progressive. I'm like, when you go around calling yourself the top cop, then I'm on the understanding that you're actually problematically conservative and you're not at all progressive.
Yeah.
Because you're just basically the female version of that weird law and order shit Trump was talking about.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, she's not. She's definitely a conservative. Like, all of the Democrats have had just like these talking points on progressive agenda items, but they don't actually do anything with teeth. Like,
Right.
they can promise things all day long. Joe Biden had a wonderful infrastructure thing that, I mean, it was definitely lacking in some areas, but it would have been nice to get that through.
That he's
And
been removing provisions from.
exactly, they've been gutting it since they announced it because they never had any intention of doing anything. They just wanted to shut people up.
Yeah.
And if you can, like, it's like sound processing. There's a lot of loudness happening when you start, and then if you put like a limiter on there, you're gonna cut some of the highs and cut some of the lows and get everything in the middle. And that's kind of what they were going for with saying there's a good infrastructure bill. Maybe some of those people that are being really loud and kind of peaking are going to shut the fuck up and stop paying attention to what I'm doing because I've announced something and they can read it. But now we're just going to keep gutting it until there's nothing left of it to go forward. But
Yeah.
we suffice the people that will only look on the surface, and and the most conservative and angry people that aren't going to read any of it but are just seeing that there are being concessions made for the Republicans, those are also going to fall off. So you've got this nice like middle ground that
Yeah.
you're just going to play there until nothing ever happens, and hopefully those people in the middle aren't going to talk about it anymore, and the people on the edges have just kind of fallen off. I don't know. It seems like that's their plan.
Right. The spill that if it passes, I'm like, so you're gonna paint new lines on the road is your entire infrastructure plan now?
Yeah,
And it's gonna take you 10 years to do that?
yeah, because I mean, they're like, I don't know. If you're not raising taxes to even what they were before the Trump era tax cuts, then you're not doing anything. And like, even if it was like their actual tax rate instead of just like, what it's said to be before all of their incentives and stuff, like if you just had a fixed percent of taxes that billionaires, even if they were fixed at paying a 15%, you would probably make a shit ton of revenue because
Right.
like they don't even pay that much on average.
Oh, pretty much all of them, because I saw that thing that came out. We're paying like, I think, a maximum of 3%, if that.
Yeah. And
it's
I
like,
mean,
come on.
yeah, like I don't care if they have more money, and so that 3% is marginally more than the person making 35,000. It should be more. And
Yeah.
like they're making that money off of the infrastructure that we have in place in the United States. Just like the pharmaceutical companies are making their money off of the patents that they have the ownership of, because the research and development grants that they got from the US government to do their research to make the drug.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting subsidized by the government to make it, but then they get to get all of the profits and do, corporate buybacks of their, stocks and shit. And it just so happens that our Congress people and our senators are also recipients of that money because they are shareholders in these companies as well.
Good old insider trading.
Exactly. Nancy Pelosi is wonderful at this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the whole thing is broken from the top down, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if there is a way to fix it. I mean,
Not
maybe,
without a hard reset of everything.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe like like an EMP, just fry all of this. Just let's just like, I'll back up my hard drive so I don't lose any of my stuff, and then let's just like fry all of the
Right.
computers in the world and start from there. That's at least a hard reset. Let's take care of the, like, I don't have any confidence that the credit bureaus have any amount of accuracy anymore.
Nope.
Like, I don't know why that should weigh on anything at this point. Because I mean, what was it? Was it Experian that was hacked, or what's the other one? One
Right.
of
I can't remember which one was hacked
one of
either.
the two major, the credit bureaus were hacked, and millions of people's data was leaked. Like, that's what they base everything on for financial
Right.
things. So you're telling me that X number of people, I don't care how many it is, but if it's in the millions, that makes a huge difference. That's a big
Yeah.
pot of people that's lives are fucked over because of,
Right.
something that makes absolutely no sense. It all needs to be reset.
Mm-hmm.
It all needs to be reset.
Really does.
Yeah. Anyways,
Right.
this has just been kind of a rambling sesh.
It's all good.